Welcome back to the deep dive, everyone. Today we are plunging into incredibly volatile situation, really complex, the escalating conflict between Israel and Iran. You've given us the latest reports, the analyses, and our job, like always, is to cut through the noise. We want to pull out the key insights and help you get a really solid understanding what's happening, who's involved, and, the bigger global picture.
That's right. And what's really striking here is just how fast everything is moving. You've got this interplay of military strikes, the political talk, the rhetoric, and then all the international diplomacy kind of swirling around it. We'll be looking closely at these recent strikes, the human cost, which is significant, and these high-stakes warnings coming from, well, all sides, really.
Okay, let's ground this. We're talking about events right up to June 19th, 2025. That date saw a major jump in the escalation, didn't it?
It certainly did. A real turning point.
So let's start with Iran's actions first. What are our sources telling us about the impact Iran's latest missile attacks on Israel? These weren't just like warning shots.
Oh, no. Far from symbolic.
Yeah.
Probably the most impactful incident reported was a direct missile hit on Soroka Medical Center. That's a big hospital in Beersheba, down in southern Israel.
A hospital?
Yeah. The reports show, pretty significant damage. The surgical wing was hit hard, windows blown out, lots of smoke. Hospital staff got patients out, thankfully, but dozens still had light injuries.
Wow. A hospital hitting a civilian target like that directly, that really changes the humanitarian conversation, doesn't it?
It absolutely does.
And beyond Beersheba, did other missiles land elsewhere in Israel?
Yes, hitting a hospital is definitely a major escalation in targeting. Other Iranian missiles, they struck a high-rise apartment building in Tel Aviv and various other spots across central Israel, too. The Israeli Health Ministry confirmed at least 240 people injured altogether from these attacks, 4 of them severely hurt.
Okay, so with those Iranian strikes hitting civilian areas, a hospital, the world was watching for Israel's response. And the sources confirm they did hit back hard. What do we know about their targets inside Iran, especially these nuclear sites we're hearing about? What was the thinking there?
Right, so Israeli forces carried out strikes on Iran's Arak heavy water reactor. Now, this is really significant because Israel was quite explicit. They said the aim was to stop the facility being used to make plutonium for nuclear weapons.
Okay.
Iranian state TV confirmed the attack happened, but they're quick to say there was no radiation risk, claiming it was evacuated first. The IAEA, that's the UN's nuclear watchdog, they also confirmed Arak was hit. But they added, crucially, it wasn't loaded with nuclear material, so no radioactive fallout. Israel even put out this black and white footage, showed a bomb hitting their reactor dome.
And Arak wasn't the only nuclear-related site Israel went after, was it? Did they hit others?
Correct. Israel also said it hit another site, somewhere near Natanz. They described that one as definitely linked to Iran's nuclear program as well. It points to a wider strategy targeting that infrastructure.
So nuclear facilities, yes, but also, this is really interesting, Israel hit a state-run TV station in Tehran. What was the impact there? And what's the message Israel might be sending by striking a media building?
Yeah, that was the Islamic Republic of Iran Broadcasting, the IRIB building in Tehran. Apparently, it happened during a live broadcast, an hour after they'd issued a public warning for that general area. Iranian officials said 3 IRIB staff were killed. AT journalists got images showing dust, debris, studios wrecked inside, hitting media like that. It could be about disrupting Iran's messaging, maybe?
Yes.
Or just showing Israel's reach goes beyond just military sites.
Okay, so we have the direct strikes, the counterstrikes. But the sources also give us this really grim picture of the wider human suffering, especially in Gaza. What's the latest toll from there?
It's terrible. The Gaza Health Ministry reported 69 deaths and 221 injuries just in the last 24 hours. That brings the total since the Israel-Hamas conflict started to, well, over 55,000 killed and 130,000 injured. Staggering numbers.
Unbelievable.
And separately, there's also this deeply concerning report. At least 8 Palestinians killed, 60 injured near an aid distribution site in Gaza. It's run by a U.S. Israel-backed group.
Okay.
Eyewitnesses are claiming Israeli forces are regularly firing into crowds trying to get food.
That's awful. Okay, shifting back to the military tech side of things, our sources point to a new challenge Iran is posing. For Israel's air defenses, like Iron Dome, what is it? Why is it such a big deal?
Right. The Israeli military said Iran used a multi-warhead missile in its latest attack. Now, this isn't just, small upgrade. It's potentially a game changer strategically. Think about Iron Dome. It's designed for precision, taking out single threats. Suddenly, it's facing multiple independent targets coming from just one missile launch. That completely changes the math for missile defense. It could overwhelm it or maybe create gaps in the shield. It's Iran signaling they're pushing the technology to challenge those defenses.
So these multi-warhead missiles, definitely a new challenge. But stepping back, what's the overall scale? The sheer number of missiles Iran has thrown at Israel, according to the sources?
Well, an Israeli military official reported that Iran had launched 450 missiles
Yeah.
and 1,000 drones
Yeah.
towards Israel so far. Most came directly from Iran, but some were launched by proxy forces in Iraq.
450 missiles, 1,000 drones. That's a
Yeah.
lot. Now, Israel claims its counterstrikes have really hurt Iran's missile abilities. Significantly degraded is the phrase used. What do the numbers actually say about the impact?
Well, Israel stated its airstrikes destroyed about 2/3 of Iran's ballistic missile launchers. They estimate Iran still has over 100 operational launchers left, though. Before all this kicked off, the estimate was Iran had maybe 2,000 ballistic missiles in total. An Israeli official claimed they're trying to stop all elements of the production chain, factories, launchers, the whole thing.
Okay, 2/3 destroyed. Sounds like a huge hit to the launchers. But over 100 still active and potentially thousands of missiles still in stock. Does that really degrade their capability long term? Or is it more temporary? What do the sources suggest?
That's the key question, isn't it? Hitting 2/3 of the launchers is significant, yes, but that initial stockpile of missiles means Iran likely still poses a major threat. The courses don't spell out how fast they could replace launchers, but targeting the production chain, that suggests Israel's aiming to hinder future capabilities, not just knock out current ones.
And on the nuclear side, Israel hit Iraq, Natanz. What's the stated goal there? Complete destruction or something else?
Yeah, the stated goal for Iraq was preventing plutonium production. They hit other sites too. But an official also indicated they aimed to severely damage these facilities, not necessarily completely destroy them. They acknowledged, quote, "We know our limits."
Know our limits. That's interesting phrasing.
It raises questions about the long-term strategy, definitely. Iran, meanwhile, keeps saying its program is peaceful, but crucially, they have enriched uranium up to 60%, which is technically very close to weapons grade.
Okay, now turning to the rhetoric, the diplomacy, or maybe lack thereof. There's an alarming development in our sources. Israel's defense minister making a very direct personal threat against Iran's supreme leader.
Yes, that was Israeli Defense Minister Israel Katz. He stated that Ayatollah Ali Khamenei absolutely should not continue to exist. He blamed Khamenei directly for the missile attacks. Pretty stark language.
Extremely.
Although it was also reported that U.S. President Donald Trump had actually vetoed an earlier Israeli plan to kill Khamenei. Trump apparently said there was no plan to kill him, at least not at this moment.
Wow. Okay. So how did other players react to just the idea of targeting Iran's top leader? That must have set off alarm bells everywhere.
Oh, absolutely. Huge reaction. Harakat al-Nujaba, that's a major Iran-backed militia in Iraq, they immediately threatened attacks on U.S. citizens in the region if Khamenei was targeted. And even Grand Ayatollah Ali al-Sistani, Iraq's top Shiite cleric, usually seen as quite moderate. He warned targeting Iran's high-level leaders, religious or political, would be a criminal act. He said it could ignite uncontrollable chaos across the whole region. He urged diplomacy instead.
So very strong pushback regionally. And it wasn't just regional warnings, right? Both Iran and Russia sent clear messages to the U.S. about getting directly involved.
Yes, very direct warnings. Iran's Revolutionary Guard told the U.S. that, quote, any direct involvement in this war will lead to its expansion throughout the region and cause serious and irreparable blows. And Russia's foreign ministry spokesperson, Maria Zakharova, she basically said the same thing. U.S. military intervention would be an extremely dangerous step with unpredictable negative consequences. The message was unambiguous. Stay out.
So the tensions are sky high, warnings flying. What are the big global powers actually doing? What's China's position? Based on our sources, they seem quite deliberate.
China's President Xi Jinping called for an immediate ceasefire. He warned more escalation wouldn't just hurt Israel and Iran, but the whole region. Their foreign ministry spokesperson, Giacuno, also said China's ready to play a constructive role, trying to restore peace. They've apparently been talking to Iran, Israel, Egypt, Oman, pushing for de-escalation across the board.
And Russia. They have their own complex ties with Iran. How are they positioning themselves in this?
Well, President Putin also condemned the Israeli attacks on Iran during a call he had with Xi. They agreed that this situation, including the issues around Iran's nuclear program, can't be solved by force, only politically, diplomatically. And significantly, Putin offered to mediate, an offer that Xi reportedly welcomed.
Okay, China and Russia pushing diplomacy, mediation. What about Europe? Are they stepping up beyond just, issuing statements?
There seems to be some movement there. French Foreign Minister Jean-Noël Barrot said France and its European partners are ready to resume negotiations with Iran, potentially involving the U.S. too, he suggested, but only if it leads to a ceasefire and lasting significant steps backward from Iran. On the nuclear program, ballistic missiles, and other destabilizing stuff, actually, Iran's foreign minister, Abbas Araki, is scheduled to meet his European counterparts. That's the UK, France, Germany, plus the EU's foreign policy chief in Geneva. And Egypt's foreign minister also urged that group, the E3, to open up dialogue channels with Iran.
The UK specifically seems quite involved behind the scenes. What concrete steps are they taking? Preparations, diplomacy?
Yeah, the UK Foreign Secretary David Lammy is heading to Washington, meeting the U.S. Secretary of State Marco Rubio specifically about this crisis. And the Prime Minister, Keir Starmer, chaired a COBRA meeting. That's their emergency response committee. They discussed the UK's response if the U.S. were to attack Iranian nuclear sites, specifically mentioning the possibility of the U.S. using the British base at Diego Garcia,
Diego Garcia, right, strategic location.
vital spot in the Indian Ocean. Though, importantly, no formal request has been made yet, apparently. The UK has also moved assets closer. Refueling aircraft, Typhoon jets sent to Cyprus, they say to protect UK personnel and interests, and they've evacuated embassy families from Israel.
Okay, so UK preparing, Europe talking diplomacy. What about the US military itself? Are they showing any signs of changing posture in the region, according to the source material?
Yes, there are signs. Satellite images, analyzed by the AP, show that aircraft at Al Udeid Air Base in Qatar have been dispersed. That's the main forward HQ for U.S. Central Command, usually packed with transport planes, fighters, drones, spreading them out as a standard tactic to protect assets if there's an attack.
Makes sense.
Dispersal. Exactly. And similarly, ships from the U.S. Navy's 5th Fleet Base over in Bahrain have also dispersed, moving away from concentrated areas.
And finally, another clear sign of just how unstable things feel. Multiple countries are getting ready to evacuate their citizens. Which countries and from where?
Right, it's quite a list. Japan is sending military planes to Djibouti to potentially airlift its citizens, about 280 in Iran and 1,000 in Israel. China is organizing bus evacuations for its citizens in Israel, taking them across the Taba border into Egypt. Indonesia plans to get its people out too. About 386 in Iran, mostly students, and nearly 200 in Israel, mostly in Rafah. Oman actually already got a head start, evacuating around 245 of its own citizens and some other nationals via Iran's Bandar Abbas port.
So, government's clearly taking the threat seriously enough to pull their people out. One last detail, kind of interesting from the sources. Israel seems to be trying to manage the information flow. What's happening with media coverage?
Yeah, Israeli police have been actively stopping media outlets, specifically mentioning news agencies used by Al Jazeera, from broadcasting, particularly from locations where Iranian missiles have hit or interceptions happened. They're accusing these outlets of transmitting unauthorized and illegal content. And we should remember, Israel banned Al Jazeera outright last year, claimed it incited violence, endangered soldiers. So there's history there.
Wow. Okay, so when you stitch all these threads together, Iran's new missiles, Israel hitting nuclear sites, hitting media, the tragic human cost continuing, especially in Gaza, it really feels like the region is right on the brink. What's the biggest takeaway for you from all this?
It really is a complex web, isn't it? You see the military moves, the strategic counter moves, the diplomacy attempts, and underneath it all, these devastating human consequences. The repeated warnings from global powers, China, Russia, the U.S. military dispersing its assets, it all just highlights this extreme tension and the very real potential for this to spill over into a much wider regional conflict that everyone seems desperate to avoid, yet moving closer towards.
Yeah, absolutely. So as we've kind of unpacked all this, it's clear these aren't just isolated events. It's a system, incredibly dynamic, complex, action, reaction, global powers trying to manage it. For you listening, the real deep dive here is seeing how every single piece fits. From one multi-warhead missile launch to the precise wording of diplomatic statements, it all contributes to this incredibly fragile balance in the region, a balance that feels like it could tip over any second.
And that brings up a really important question to maybe leave you with. You know, in a conflict this deep-rooted with such huge potential consequences, you have the big powers mediating, preparing for different scenarios. But what about the unforeseen pressures? What about domestic issues, internal politics, within Iran or Israel or even the U.S.? Could some internal pressure point we're not even seeing clearly yet be the thing that tips this already delicate balance even further? Something definitely worth thinking about as you process all disinformation, 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 disinformation,